Hey everyone, it's Simi here. I hope you are all doing well. So one of the things that I have been meditating on recently is the early life of King David. So his life before he actually became king, his life while he was serving in his father's fields, tending sheep, the life where he was unforgotten, unrecognized, and not much of anything before the people in his life. In the book of 1 Samuel 16, we read of Samuel looking to appoint the next king of Israel under the instruction of God. And he approaches all of David's older brothers, the ones that look the part, that look strong. And as he approaches them, God is like, that's not the king. So eventually he says to Jesse, is there anyone else, any other males in this house? And Jesse says to him, oh, there's David in the field. Like, you can go check him out. So eventually Samuel goes out to see David in the field and he's like, okay, this is the next king of Israel. He's the one that I'm here to anoint. And then, we read on later that David became one of the greatest kings of Israel. But what I want to pull out from that is the time that David spent tending his father's sheep in the fields, in the backside of the desert, whatever you want to call it, was so key to his greatness as king. As I was meditating on this, the Holy Spirit said to me, David was not hidden in the fields forever, but that time was absolutely necessary. So there are a few things that we can learn from David's time in the fields. The first thing is that in that time, he learned total dependence on God. It was in that time that he cultivated a heart after God. It was in that time alone that he was able to draw near to God and get to build an intimate relationship with the Father. When we read Psalm 23, it's written by David. He knows the heart of a shepherd, so he can communicate what God is like as a shepherd because he got to know God in that intimate way. Secondly, he learned how to put aside the opinions of others. From what we've read, we can see that David was not rated or valued by his family. He wasn't considered as one of the sons when Samuel came to the house. He was just like, oh yeah, that one in the field. But in that time, he must have needed to cultivate, that dying to public opinion, not caring what other people thought about him, because they didn't value him. And if he had carried that weight around, it would have been detrimental to his future. But because he was spending time in the presence of God, he was able to develop thick skin and shut down the opinions of others that didn't value him. Thirdly, he learned how to be faithful without an audience. Oh my gosh, this one is so key because in our generation, we like to do so many things for the sake of an audience, but our audiences ultimately should be an audience of one, which is God. David served faithfully in the fields without an audience. Next, he was sharpening his skills, which would enable him to be a great king. So in that time, David was fighting off bears, he was fighting off lions, and we know eventually those skills enabled him to defeat Goliath. And then beyond that, he became like this great warrior in Israel. So in his time hidden in the field where he was seemingly unforgotten, he was developing skills that he would use in the future as king. All these things enabled him to lead as a great king. So my word to everybody today is that, what does the backside of the desert look like for you? What does your hidden field look like? What things is God trying to cultivate in you in your hidden season? You may be hidden right now. It may seem like you're forgotten right now. You may be waiting for a promotion but have been overlooked. You may be serving hard in a place but not recognized. But I'm telling you, if you continue to be faithful, God will elevate you at the right time. You are picking up valuable skills. This is the time to draw near to God. This is the time to die to public opinion. This is the time to learn to serve without an audience. This is the time to sharpen your skills, to become better at what you do so that when you are given a platform, when you are elevated, you are excellent because you've taken time to grow, you've taken time to develop. One thing Pastor Sam mentions in his book is that we must go through process. The place of process is so key. And I think in our generation, it's something that we want to bypass because in our society, we're rated by our achievements. We're rated by the things that we're doing and accomplishing. But there's a place for process. Sometimes these accomplishments will not be recognized until the appointed time, but we can't get tired before that appointed time. If David had gotten tired and started sulking in the desert, he may have never made it to the throne. But he's held out, he went through process, and then eventually at the right time, God appointed him. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not recognized, my skills are not valued, first of all, deal with your heart. But secondly, recognize that in due season, God will appoint you to the right place. Who knows, if he was to elevate us now, it could destroy us. There's character that he wants to develop in us. There's things that he wants to build in us. So let's utilize our hidden field, our hidden time to grow, to develop, to gain deep roots in God, so that when God does, bring us to the forefront, we can excel, we can give the glory and the honor to him, and that we have staying power. That's the prayer. So my charge to everybody today is stay in the place of process. Don't despise humble beginnings. Stay in the hand of God and let God work in and through you. Stay faithful, just as David was, because in due time, God will elevate you to that place where you can make even more of an impact.